In part 2 of the FEH 10.7 refines, we're covering Bridal Shanna and the remixes for Legendary Guinevere plus Mythic Heiðr. Bridal Shanna is Earth Seasonal Refine for this month. She's a flying red archer with decent offensive stats. Shanna's Rose-Quartz bow has been updated. It now comes with content 2. Shanna gets plus 3 flat attack, and in combat she gets plus 6 attack and speed with plus 5 defense and res. Shanna deals 23 damage per hit and has 7 flat DR. Last, Shanna gets Desperation when initiating, so she can follow up immediately. For the refined portion, outside of either phase, Shanna grants plus 6 attack and speed, potent follow, and pulse follow to allies within 2 spaces. Shanna gets access to slaying and another plus 10 stats in combat. Last, if Shanna does trigger the potent follow effect, she always gets a 100% potent hit. Shanna gets a very solid offensive boost with this refine. She also gives out some really rare statuses in potent follow and pulse follow. The potent follow status uses the OG potent rules, so you get the 25 speed advantage, and if you only hit once, you get the 80% potent hit. Otherwise, it's the weaker 40% potent hit. Unlike most modern 5-star units with the 100% potent hit condition, Shanna gets to use the 25 speed advantage to check rate follow-up instead of 10. That is definitely better than usual, so good for her. Now, to further sweeten the deal, Shanna gets to use her extra potent hit with Desperation. Flying archers are not particularly tanky, so Shanna is going for the 2 or 3 tap before the enemy gets to fire back. The regular Shanna has been our free-to-play source of Desperation since the good old launch days, so this is a fun little callback for her refine. For builds, Shanna is basically just going full damage. One skill that would be nice to have is Speed Taker due to its no guard effect. With Slaying and Pulse Follow, Shanna should be able to trigger her 5 cooldown specials if she gets a 3rd potent hit. No guard helps ensure this happens, and then for Speed Taker, we need Shanna to outspeed the enemy anyway. Now, to add to this, getting no follow-up or at least a free follow-up to cancel out the enemy's follow-up denial skills would be good. Shanna can use Slice with Sparrow, or you could use the C skills like No Uplift, Crux, or Odd Speed Wave 4. Sly or Crux Echo both exist as well. For other skills, Shanna could use Execution Breath, Arc Fourth Breath, Heavy Blade, or Favor for extra cooldown. This could ensure she triggers a high cooldown special in cases where she only gets to hit 2 times. Now, for A skills, Aerospace grants more true damage than Slice with Sparrow, but Shanna already has Conta 2 from her Refine. You could also use Remote or Flared Sparrow for percent DR or Flame Tiles. For other B skills, sadly there aren't that many great options. Flying Archers don't get the new Taker Burst skill, and Shanna doesn't necessarily need more cooldown. Shackle is an option, but there isn't a speed and defense shackle just yet. Now, for a cheap or technically free option, Shanna could use Seal Defense 4 from Bridal Anna. In the upcoming Tempest Trials, we are getting Summer Ivy, who has Soaring Guidance. Shanna has Swift Sparrow 3 by default, so this could be your build if you don't want to invest that much. Now, Shanna would like a modern special though. Waning Shot can be triggered in 2 hits, but as mentioned, Shanna can trigger the 5 cooldown specials as well. Arch Rival is fine, but Wind Edge is a new 100% speed scaling option. For budget skills, you can also go with Dragon Fang or Astral. If you wanted to go into more support skills, Shanna could use Strand Assault for mobility. No Uplift can help allies win those potent speed checks. Favor can also be used to stack more stats and cooldown, but there is no defense and res favor as of this moment. As for Sacred Seals, any attack and speed booster will be fine, although Shanna can use her fly mobility skills like Aerobatics or Fly Formation to get into attack range. She can also stack Rain or Crook skills if you want. All in all, Bridal Shanna does get access to some really rare statuses. She herself goes for the Potent plus Desperation combo. You just gotta be careful if the enemies do get to hit back. Our first Legendary remix is for Guinevere. She's a colorless infantry mage with good speed and res. Legendary Guinevere gets a lot of new tools, so let's start with her Radiant Aureola weapon. This tome has Slaying and is effective against other mages. Guinevere gets plus 5 stats in combat, deals 25 true damage per hit, and has 15 flat DR. Guinevere inflicts guard on the foe and disables adaptive damage effects to protect her very low base defense. For the refined portion, as part of either phase, grant plus 6 attack and speed and res, the Fire Emblem status, and the debuff neutralization status to allies within 3 spaces. Guinevere gets another 10 stats in combat and 50% DR piercing. Last, if Guinevere is facing a mage, she will get a bonus, plus 10 attack and Vantage. Starting with that last effect, Guinevere gets Atlas's anti-mage perks. He also wields Aureola, so it makes sense. For other perks, Guinevere retains all her old effects, although the adaptive damage part does work on AoE specials now, and her true damage and flat DR has been updated. This refine will give Guinevere some major buffing power, including plus 6 to 3 stats and debuff neutralization. Guinevere then gets Mart's Fire Emblem status, presumably because she does end up with her game's version of the Fire Emblem, which is a fun detail. Now, the Fire Emblem status neutralizes effective against movement type effects, it has a fringe bonus effect, and it gives 10 flat DR versus first attacks. Guinevere buffs attack speed and res, so Fire Emblem is going to double those in combat. Yet another benefactor of that new 8th Year ult as well. Onto the remix, new Way 2 C skill. For unit and allies within 3 rows or columns, you grant plus 5 stats in combat, 7 true damage, 7 flat DR, and pre-impulses -1 instant cooldown. You also get to heal 10 HP after fighting. Now Guinevere gets a plus 5 phantom res effect for herself. She also has breath type cooldown and fauna follow-up. Last, Guinevere gets the 100% potent effect. If you're within 5 speed of the enemy, you get that 100% potent hit. New Way 2 has been massively buffed with a variety of nice support effects for the team. Since Fire Emblem gives 10 flat DR, Guinevere can give 17 flat DR to her teammates, not to mention a bunch of extra stats, which also neutralizing debuffs. For her own combat, Guinevere gets more cooldown to abuse, and she has a 100% potent hit. She's a pretty speedy unit naturally, so no follow-up is appreciated to get those follow-ups. Guinevere does not have any res comparing effects in her weapon or C skill, but she's getting speed and res unrest for free as part of her remix. That can tack on another -7 attack and res, plus anti-healing onto Guinevere's support perks. She herself will get Conto 1, plus res getting true damage and flat DR. Now if you wanted Sabotage and Schism, you could also use Havoc, but Unrest is fine to keep. Do note that Unrest will replace Guinevere's Nelsie Disrupt skill. There is no way to get that effect back without ally support, so mages with sweep effects could bypass her new Vanish skill. Naturally, if we're comparing flat stats, it's hard to pass up on plus 12 flat res from Rise Above. Crystalline Water is fine, but Guinevere does kind of want attack speed and res, plus her physical bulk is improved with all these upgrades. For example, starting out, Guinevere herself will get 32 flat DR, and even Unrest gives more flat DR on top. If you did want to have even better chances at tanking a physical damage hit, then a 40% DR special would definitely be necessary. I would use Comet since it can work on both phases, plus Logic will require you to initiate and have debuffs. Ice Wall can also work, but it only protects against one hit, and you need to charge it up or depend on the foe to trigger their own special. Speaking of, Guinevere can proc Comet on her follow-up attacks. She doesn't need the third potent hit, but it can offset guard effects or enemy temple skills. If Guinevere brings her own temple sacred seal, then no guard will just grant consistent cooldown charging. Since Guinevere has Vantage versus mages, the Aureola plus Demonic Force combo could be kinda dirty. Demonic Force adds its own -1 cooldown, so if you wait 2 turns, Comet will trigger on the Vantage proc. For other skills, you could use Low Finish or Pair Up. Guinevere can stack bonus double type effects for fun, and a squad A seal with Rise Above would patch up her lower based HP. Like Marth, the new Fire Emblem status is fantastic with Eikthenir's plus 3 field buffing gimmick. Guinevere also has neat synergy with Brave Eikthenir specifically. He has fringe bonus as a status, defense field buffs, no panic, and can give Guinevere Magic Savior. It does sound pretty fun, plus you could also use Close Counter to deal with dragons. In general, getting access to the Fire Emblem status is a very awesome upgrade for Guinevere, plus there are a couple units with Eik's plus 3 field buffing gimmick by now. She's in a fun position to help stack up some serious stats, plus her own combat should be good as well. If you face other mages, good old Vantage is always a funny way to win a fight. Our last refine for this month is Mythic Heiðr. She's a green infantry mage with a more pure offensive stat spread compared to Guinevere. Heiðr's main goal, though, was always focused around support, and this refined remix has certainly gone all in on that direction. Starting with Heiðr's Tome, if a rally or movement assist is used by Heiðr or targets her, she triggers -6 debuffs, guard, sabotage, and speed check onto foes within 3 rows or columns of herself and her ally. Heiðr's gonna get Slang, plus her stats, and 25 true damage for herself. She has regular 40% DR for all attacks now, and gets an extra 7 flat DR on top. For the refined part, very simple, Heiðr gets plus 10 stats in combat, no follow-up, and if she initiates, she too gets Desperation just like Shanna. Heiðr's refined gives her the fun no follow-up plus Desperation 2-tap combo, and it also improves her ruse effect. It now works with movement assist, gives -6 debuffs, and you'll double that up with Sabotage in combat. Speed Shackle can add another -8 speed on the enemy, you just need to inflict one more status. To pair with her ruse effect, Heiðr has a unique rally assist, called Serpent Plus, which adds more effects over time. One big difference, and it now grants its max buffs on turn 3 instead of turn 4. Leading up to that, on turn 1, Heiðr will grant bonus attack and speed equal to the turn count times 3. By turn 3, you can get a max +9 attack and speed buff. In addition, turn 1 also grants Conto 1 and +1 movement. Oh dear. On turn 2, Gold Serpent adds Treachery True damage and Speed Liberate. Speed Liberate is the opposite of Speed Shackle, so Heiðr's team can get +8 speed for more advantages. Last, for turn 3 onward, Heiðr adds Dual Strike Brave attacks and Time's Gate. Dual Strike requires the user to initiate next to another Dual Strike unit to get Brave hits. Not super easy to achieve, but a lot more doable with the range attacking styles. As for Time's Gate, this allows allies within 4 spaces to warp next to the user. Basically, Heiðr and her rallied ally can warp next to each other to trigger Dual Strike. Continuing, Heiðr will get an extra action after assisting, so she can rally, warp, and attack. To make that even deadlier, Heiðr has Pass to get by Warp Bubble. For the last effect, Heiðr has a counter to the enemy's low effects. If they do neutralize her field boss, Heiðr still gets Treachery True damage. She just borrows the field boss from allies on the map with Treachery, aka her Gold Serpent partner. Let's take stock of what Heiðr's Refine now offers for the team. After you use Gold Serpent, Heiðr can give herself and one ally +3, +6, or +9 attack and speed after 3 turns. She also inflicts -6 debuffs to all stats that get doubled with Sabotage. You then have Speed Shackle and Speed Liberate for huge speed advantages. Now for mobility, Heiðr gives Console 1 and +1 movement, plus she gets to act again. Time's Gate also gives a huge warp range for allies. The entire team can benefit from that effect. Damage-wise, Dual Strike gives player phase Brave hits, but requires Heiðr and her rally ally to stick together. Her Refine gives Desperation with no follow-up for 2 taps before turn 3, and then quad attacks after turn 3. Treachery True damage is based on the unit's total field buffs. Heiðr only gives out attack and speed, so try to find a Defense and Res field buffer for max power. Unfortunately, Defense and Res Favor still doesn't exist, and despite that, Favor is still probably going to be one of Heiðr's best skills. Luckily, she gets attack and speed Favor for free. Empathy for another +7 stats, 50% DR piercing, and -1 cooldown. Since Heiðr ramps up over a couple turns, she can pre-charge a special before even fighting. You can also charge Comet in just 2 turns. For other support skills, Heiðr could use her original Panic Smoke. If she does get that off, then the Panic Field Buff will work with her new Sabotage effect. Since Treachery wants Field Buffs, Heiðr could also use a Field Buff in Sacred Seal for defensive res. If you wanted to go with great talent stats, you could use Rise Above with Instruct. Heiðr might not teach defensive res much, and this method may be less effective with bonus blessing stats and Aether raids, but it is an option if you want. Now if you wanted some extra cooldown, you could try Silence Ward. It's only got 2 range, but Time's Gate can warp the team around quite far, so there is potential. Instead, Dual Support can work from across the map, and it also is another +5 attack and speed with Tempo. For personal comment, Heiðr can stack full damage with Aria, Demonic Force, Conjuring Breath, or skills like Low Finish and Pair Up. She has Desperation plus no follow-up, and after turn 3, she might be able to use Dual Strike's Brave hits. If you want to try and have Heiðr tank a counterattack, you could use her innate Remote Sparrow. With her 40% from the Refine and 40% DR special like Logic or Comet, that could get around 75% damage reduction total. Obviously, a lot of that is pierceable DR, but if the foe can't get through that, then Heiðr might survive more than she expects. Now, for another special option, since she has Favor, AoE specials are on the table. If you aren't planning for Heiðr to fight much at all, then an AoE with Life and Death is a very cheap build that could be effective. The Treachery True damage does indeed work on AoE specials. In conclusion, Mythic Heiðr's Refine Remix are quite good. Most of her value is coming from her Gold Serpent support, and boy does she have a lot to mess around with, like Past Warping with Time's Gate. Since Heiðr gets Favor for free, she already has a pretty solid build. Anything else you add is pretty much just icing on the cake. That will be it for this month's Refines. Let me know your thoughts. We have some very fun effects on the remixes if you're looking for new support options. If you missed part 1, we covered Refines for Brigand Boss, Basilio, Hugh, and Ascended Joshua. Up next, we're going over the new Seasonal Sports Festival banner. That's right, summer's cancelled. We're going back to school. Thank you for watching, have fun with the new Refines, and I will see you in the next video.